Now, we can see all of our options for the different categories are on the left-hand side of the screen here on the iPad. I'd like you to go through the roster page first. So this is up in green up at the top here. On this roster page, you will see all the teachers in the classrooms and all the children in the classrooms as well. Teachers, you cannot play April Fool's jokes and remove your teachers from the classrooms because that's not very nice to do. But you can see all the fun profile pictures that you guys take for the students. I do want to show you how you can make basic updates to the students' information. So to update a child, all we do is we tap on the child we want to edit. So please choose a child. And it's going to pop up with an edit child page. This is where we can make basic updates to the students' information, updating their first name, updating their last name. I would like you to add in a birthday for the student. You can pick a random date on here, but I do want you to add in a child's birthday. This is where we can add and update the student's profile picture. You can either take a photo right then and there, or you can always upload a photo. Maybe you took one last week, you took one earlier in the day, so you can always update the child's profile picture up at the top here. I do want to highlight down at the bottom here, this is where you can view the student's individualized rating period. I know not all students enter the program at the exact same time, and some students need an individualized 60-day reporting period. So this is where we can then find the student's individualized rating period and what that rating period is active in right here at the bottom. Finally, when the child leaves a program, which is always very sad, maybe they have graduated, they've moved across the country, they are not coming back into your classroom or the agency, you can click on the red, set this child to inactive status, and that's then going to archive the data for that child. If all of a sudden they pop back in 3 weeks later, all of a sudden you can always make that child active again, and all the information will still travel with the child. Questions before we save and submit? Okay, so let's go ahead and save and submit with the blue check mark at the top right-hand corner of the page. Perfect, awesome. So let's go ahead and jump to the orange portfolio section, which is down towards the bottom left-hand corner. This is where you're going to spend probably the majority of your time on Learning Genie in this orange portfolio tab. This is the main portfolio page. This is where you can add your notes, view them, sort them, organize them, edit them. So this is where you can then collect and review all those different DRDP observations. To write a new portfolio note, all we do is we click on the big red plus sign at the top right-hand corner. So big red plus sign. And it's going to pop up with a page that says Add Portfolio. Now, it does not matter the order as to how you make the portfolio note, just as long as all the components are there. I like to start with adding my text first, but again, the exact order doesn't matter. Let's go ahead and just add the text first. Up at the top, you're going to see a gray text box that says you could enter your observation note here. Go ahead and tap on that text box and you'll notice that your keyboard pops up. This is where you can either type out your observation note, or a really cool feature is the microphone icon if you have this, which is to the left of the space bar, and you can actually speak into the iPad and it's going to transcribe what you are saying. So what I'd like you to do is type out a portfolio note. You can copy mine or make your own, and I'll give you like a minute to do so. I'll say, today in class, the students matched uppercase and lowercase letters. Okay, now the next thing that I like to do for this portfolio note is I like to tag my measures. In the middle of the screen, you're going to see where it says add tags, and here we have all the different domains. In our demo class, we do use the infant toddler framework, so if you use a different framework for whatever the case is in your classroom, you might notice that the measures and the domains might be different, but the process is the same. So to tag your measures on Learning Genie, all you do is you tap on the domain, select the measures that apply, then tap on Anywhere to continue. Again, tap on the domain, choose the measures that apply, and tap Anywhere to continue. The ones I'm tagging right now might not relate to this portfolio note, but I do want to show you how easy it is to quickly go through and tag those measures on Learning Genie. If I make a mistake and accidentally tag the wrong measure, I can always click on the X next to the measure name up here, and that will then remove that specific measure for this portfolio note. There is no maximum number to how many measures you can tag for an observation note. It does have to do with the quality of the note itself. So if this note, you can get 8 measures tagged, then tag all 8 measures. If you can get 12 measures, then tag all 12 measures. One of my favorite things on this page is actually the reference icon down at the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. The reference icon is going to pull up your entire DRDP packet for you in the palm of your hands. This is really nice because I know that DRDP can be confusing at times. Maybe you are new to DRDP, so this is a really good way to get an overview of exactly the different domains and different measures for that DRDP. Any questions so far? Okay, perfect. Now, the next thing that I like to do is I like to tag my children. Maybe this was a group activity, maybe multiple students participated. One of the really cool things about Learning Genie is that you don't have to write out the exact same portfolio note like 10, 11, 12 different times. You can simply select all the children that participated in the activity. Down at the bottom, you're going to see a gray plus sign where it says Add Children. If you tap on that gray plus sign, you will notice how your roster pops up, and this is where we can then select all the children that participated in the activity. And you'll notice when you select the children, their little profile icons highlight in green. Then tap on Anywhere to continue. What this means, once we are done with this observation note, this is going to post into all the students that we have selected down at the bottom. Please go through and make sure at least one student is selected for this portfolio note. The last thing that I like to do for my portfolio note is I like to add my media evidence. Up at the top right-hand corner, you're going to see 4 icons. This is where we can do one of 3 things. This is where you can either take and add up to 4 photos, or take or add a 20-second video, or take a 2-minute audio clip. So it's either up to 4 photos, or a 20-second video, or a 2-minute audio clip per portfolio note. This would be the time if the student has a writing sample or a work sample to then upload a photo of that student's sample. I'd like you to go in and add some sort of media evidence to this portfolio note. I'm gonna go into my photo album and upload a photo, but I want you to add something. You can take a picture of you having fun training, you can take a picture of the chair, but I want you to add something. Now, as of right now, this is a complete portfolio note, but we can do one more thing. Down at the bottom, you're going to see a calendar icon that says update the entry date. This is where you can backdate on your portfolio observations to reflect when the date had actually occurred. Maybe this note happened yesterday, it happened last week. You can then backdate the notes to reflect when the date had actually occurred. Let's go ahead and save and submit our portfolio note. To do so, I'd like you to click on the blue check mark at the top right-hand corner. So to save and submit, click on the blue check mark. And if you followed me there, you should see your portfolio note pop up. So here I can see for Jason Brown, today in class, the students matched uppercase and lowercase letters. Emily, it did post. Today in class, the students matched uppercase and lowercase letters. And the same thing with Joe. I do want to show you a really cool feature. We can actually make a group observation, but not all the students are going to do the activity the exact same way. Some students are going to do the activity differently than other students, and we now want to be able to then individualize the note to reflect exactly how each student performed during the activity. I'd like you to make another portfolio note. So again, big red plus sign at the top right-hand corner. I'd like you to add in a group activity, something that the entire class participated in. For this practice, I would like you to select all the students. In a real life scenario, it might not be all the students, but just for today's practice, please select all the students. And I'd like you to make a group activity, something that the entire class participated in. You can copy my note or you can make your own note. You need to add in your text. You need to tag your measures. You can add in media evidence if you'd like to, and then save when you're done with that blue check mark. So I will say the students used fine motor skills and drew self-portraits with watercolors. Just as an example, I'll tag my measures. Okay, so I'd like you to click on the blue check mark to save and submit if you haven't done so already. And we should all see our group observation note. So the one I wrote says the students used fine motor skills and drew self-portraits with watercolors. The same thing popped up for Emily's, drew self-portraits with watercolors. But as I mentioned before, not all the students did the activity the exact same way. Maybe Emily did the activity slightly differently than Jason. Jason did something differently than Joe. So we want to make a specific update now to reflect exactly how each student performed during this activity. I'd like you to tap on the portfolio note you just wrote. So please tap on the note you just wrote. It's going to pop up with some content detail, just confirming it's the correct note, and then tap on update. So tap on the portfolio note you just wrote, and then tap on update. It should bring you back to this edit portfolio page. Now, the first thing we're going to do to individualize the note, and I would highly recommend doing this step first because oftentimes teachers forget to do this step. The first thing we're going to do is unselect the students that we do not want to make any edits to. Let me show you what I mean first. Let's say I want to make a specific update to how Emily performed during the activity. I'm going to unselect my other children so only Emily is highlighted in green because I only want to make an update to what she did differently for this specific activity. So only Emily is the only student that's selected down at the bottom here. Let me go through that again. So I'd like you to pick a child. It can either be Jason, Emily, or Joe, it does not matter. Tap on the gray plus sign and unselect the other children that you do not want to make any edits to. So if you are making an update to what Emily did, she should be the only student highlighted in green. If you are making an update to Joe, he's the only student highlighted in green. So at this point, we can make whatever updates we want to for this portfolio note, and it's only going to reflect for the student that we have selected down here at the bottom. You can update the text, you can update the measures, you can even update the media evidence. I'd like you to make at least one update saying specifically what this child did differently than the rest of the other students, and then save when you're done. I'm going to make an update to all 3 sections, but just for practice, you only have to make at least one update. I'll say, Emily said, oops, when she spilled the paint. I'll tag a few more measures too, and I'll even add a photo. So I'd like you to make at least one update. I made an update to all 3 sections. Okay, let's go ahead and save and submit with that blue check mark. And this is really cool, and you can look on my screen first before looking at your own. So my original group portfolio note says the students used fine motor skills and drew self-portraits with watercolor. So that's what posted for Joe, that's what posted for Jason. Now, because I did individualize that note for Emily, it still says the students used fine motor skills and drew self-portraits with watercolors. It also has on here, Emily said, oops, when she spilled the paint. And here I have a photo that is now only posting for Emily, and here I did tag additional measures. This is a really good way to then save time on collecting all the notes. That way you don't have to write out the exact same note. You can simply individualize it. I do want to show you one more way on how you can write a portfolio note. This is really good for if you do not have a good Wi-Fi signal. Maybe you are outside in the playground, you're at recess, your classroom doesn't have Wi-Fi for whatever the case might be. So you can always make a portfolio note, and you can use Learning Genie without Wi-Fi and actually save the notes as a draft. Let's go ahead and add another portfolio note. So again, big red plus sign. And I'd like you to compose a portfolio note. So you need to add your text, tag your measures, select the children that apply. You can add a photo if you want to, but do not save it yet. So just make the note and then stop. You can copy mine or make your own. I'll say, Joe waved goodbye to the teacher as he was leaving class. I'll tag my measures. I need to select Joe. So I'd like you to make the note and then stop and wait for further directions. Now, instead of clicking on the blue check mark, I do want to click on the blue draft icon. This blue draft icon is really good for if you do not have a good Wi-Fi signal, so you can actually make your portfolio notes and then save them as a draft. So please click on the blue draft icon. And you'll notice the portfolio note you just wrote is saved as a draft. And we know it's a draft for two reasons, because number one, it says draft on there, and number two, it's highlighted in pink. I don't see any other portfolio notes that are highlighted in pink. So a draft is a portfolio note that's not actually saved yet to Learning Genie's cloud. Learning Genie is a cross-platform application, so you can use it on multiple devices, except drafts are only saved to the device that you wrote it on. That means that if I was to log on to my computer, I cannot see this note because it did not actually save yet to Learning Genie. Think about it as a temporary save onto Learning Genie. This is really good for if you do not have a good Wi-Fi signal. You can write as many drafts as you want to, write as many portfolio notes as you want to, save them as a draft, and then later, once you do have a good Wi-Fi signal, you can then take that draft out of draft mode and upload it to Learning Genie's cloud. A few common questions I get about drafts are, number one, how many drafts can you write? And the answer is unlimited. The second common question I get is, how long can you keep these drafts in draft mode for? And the answer is also unlimited. However, if something were to happen to your device, maybe you drop it, you lose it, it does a complete factory reset, you have to uninstall and reinstall the app, you're not going to be able to get this portfolio note back because it did not actually physically save yet to Learning Genie. It was more of a temporary save. So it is very important to make sure that you go through frequently, see if you have any pink draft notes, and then make sure to upload them to Learning Genie's cloud. Let's go through that together right now. So let's say we were outside and now we have a great Wi-Fi signal. Let's take this draft out of draft mode. To do so, all I do is I tap on my pink portfolio note. So please tap on the pink portfolio note and tap on update. Tap on the note and tap on update. Now we can save and submit with that blue check mark at the top right-hand corner. You'll notice that the portfolio note you have originally saved as a draft is no longer a draft. It is white, just like the rest of the portfolio notes. Okay, I do want to show you how you can rate measures on Learning Genie. So not only can you write the portfolio notes, you can actually rate the measures as well. The most effective way to rate your measures on Learning Genie is to click on the blue and white bar graph at the top right-hand corner of the page. So please click on the blue and white bar graph. And it's going to pop up with the page that says portfolio status. This is really cool because this is showing you for each child in the classroom the measures that have been observed, unobserved, rated, and unrated for each child in the classroom. This is the most effective way to rate your measures as well. I would recommend waiting until the end of the rating period to rate your measures, because at that point you would have collected all the notes you need to for that specific measure. Let's say it is the end of the rating period and it's time to rate those measures. All we do is we tap on one of the unrated measures. So please choose an unrated measure. It's going to pop up with a score page. On the score page, it will tell you the name of the child, the measure you are scoring, and all the different portfolio notes that have that specific measure tagged. This is a really good way to then reflect upon all the portfolio observations before making a final rating. Once you are ready to rate, all you do is you tap on the blue rate up at the top right-hand corner. It will pull up different rating options to choose from. Simply select the rating you want to give for this measure, for this child, based upon the notes you have collected. And then tap on Save. You'll notice that the measure I have just rated, which was Alt Reg 1, automatically moves up to the rated category and it highlights in green. There is a number in parentheses next to that measure, and that indicates the number of notes you have for that specific measure. So for Alt Reg 1, I have 2 pieces of evidence. Alt Reg 3, I have 3 pieces of evidence, and Alt Reg 4, I have 2 pieces of evidence. So this is a really good way to see exactly how much evidence you have to back up why you are giving that specific rating to that measure. There is one more thing I do want to go through in portfolios, so please go back to the main portfolio page. I want to show you how you can sort and filter your observation notes. Up at the top, you're going to see 3 green rectangles. This is how we can sort and filter our observation notes. You can sort and filter your notes by specific domains. So here, if I want to look at all my measures, or if I want to look at all my portfolio notes that contain Alt Reg measures tagged, I can sort by domains up at the top here and then see all my notes that contain Alt Reg. Similar concept to where it says work sample and custom in the middle, this is how you can sort and filter your notes by specific work sample. So drawing sample, writing sample, or art sample. Over here, this is where we can sort and filter our notes from a specific date range. So this calendar icon is how we can look at the notes from a specific date range. If I want to look at all my notes, let's say from October 7th to April 9th, you can use the calendar scroll icon up at the top here to look through your notes from a specific date range, or use one of our quick tags, or even viewing the notes from your specific rating period alias down at the bottom here. So that wraps up writing portfolios on the iPad. Before I show you how to pull reports, I do want to show you how you can make a basic updates to your account. I'd like you to follow me to the purple More tab down at the bottom left-hand corner. On this purple More tab, this is where you can sign out. This is where you can change your password. This is where you can also get help as well. In the middle, we have help, FAQs. A really cool thing that we have is a button that says Contact Support Genie. When you tap on Contact Support Genie, it's going to pop up if your email is connected to your iPad with a pre-written email. So it says, "Hi Support Genie, I'm writing to ... You can type in whatever question, comment, concern you have, and then when you click on send, that email will go directly to our customer support team, and they would be willing to help you out with whatever question you have. Where my red cursor is, this is where you can find our customer support email. So it's help@learning-genie.com, and I will type out our customer support phone number so you have that on here as well. So our customer support phone number is 760-576-4822. So here's our customer support email address and our customer support phone number. So I'll give you a minute to jot that down if you want to. Okay. So let's shift gears here. I do want to show you how you can pull reports now from Learning Genie and pull reports on our website. Let me go ahead and sign into my account here. If you remember me saying, Learning Genie is a cross-platform application, so you can do a lot of things on multiple devices, except on the web portal, which is our fancy way to say computer, that's where you can do a little more capabilities, such as pulling different types of reports. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. So this is Learning Genie on the computer, or a fancy way to say web portal. As you can see, it looks pretty similar to how the iPad interface looks. For this next chunk of the training, you can just watch my screen for now because you don't have a lot of data to physically pull yet, so you can just watch my screen. Here I can see all the classrooms that I am assigned to. Before I pull reports, I do want to show you how you can make more updates to the students' information. So on the iPad, you can make basic updates to the students, so like first name, last name, birthday. But on the computer, this is where you can make a little more updates, including the students' attributes. I'll click on where it says the number of children in my classroom, and then edit my student. So here I have two tabs, the basic information tab, as well as the additional information. The basic information tab is going to have basic information about the child. So this looks pretty similar to the layout that was on the iPad, but under the additional information tab, this is where we can find additional DRDP attributes. So here, question 13 talks about the child's language, and following that, it talks about if the student is an ELD student or not. So we do have that corresponding with each other. Question 17 talks about if the student is an IEP student. So as you can see, we have all of these different attributes available on our website for you to fill out if they're not filled out already. To get into my classroom, all I do is I click on my classroom icon where it says A1B. And it's going to pop up with my portfolio page on here. If I wanted to write a portfolio note on the computer, all I do is I click on the blue plus add symbol towards the right-hand side of the screen, and it's going to pop up with a very similar page where it says create a new portfolio record. I'm not going to add in another portfolio note because we wrote a few of them together already, but one thing you can do on the computer that you can't do on the iPad app is you can actually attach a document. So you can attach a file. You can do 4 documents, either PDF, PowerPoint, Excel, or a Word document. All of our reports are under where it says class status. The first one I do want to go through is how to generate an individual student report. So this is a really good way to download a hard copy PDF of the student's portfolio. This report that I'm going to go through is called PDF. You can do it by specific domains, you can do it by specific date range, you can do it for one child at a time or for all students in the classroom at once. I'm going to do PDF by domain. That's the most common one that a lot of teachers like to use. You can download the student's portfolio into a different language. We have English, Spanish, Chinese, and Vietnamese available. This is really good for parent-teacher conferences too, because it does provide you with the hard copy overview of all of the portfolio notes you have collected. So this is an example of the portfolio PDF by domain. So we can see a cover page on here. It will tell me the name of the child, the classroom that they're in, as well as the framework that the student is on. Now the first 2 or 3 pages, just depending on your framework, is going to go over the measure, name, and rating for that child in the classroom. So again, that's the first 2 or 3 pages, just depending on your framework. Page 3 and beyond is really the meat of the portfolio. It is organized by specific domains. Here we can see all the measures, the notes to go along with it, any photos that were taken, as well as a timestamp as to when that specific note was created. So you can always print these out, save them to your computer. If you wanted to choose the number of pages you wanted to print out, that would be a printer setting. So on your printer setting, you would choose page 1 through 3 as an example. Okay, and again, the one I chose is under class status, and I did PDF by domain. So a classroom report I want to go through is called Progress Assessment Report. This is still under class status, but I'm going to choose Progress Assessment Report. Progress Assessment Report is broken up into 3 categories. We can see them up at the top here. The first one is Detailed Group Rating Report, and this is showing you the number of students that are scoring for the previous rating period. So not only will it tell you the number of students, you can actually view the exact students' names on here. Formative results is going to tell you where the students are scoring for the current rating period. So this is a really good way to then compare and contrast where the students were currently scoring into where they're scoring now. So not only can you see the number of students that have moved up or down a level from the previous period, but you can actually see the exact students' names. There is a blue Generate PDF up at the top here. If you wanted to download a hard copy of this page, you can click on that blue Generate PDF. Observation status is the third option up at the top here for a classroom-wide report. A lot of teachers like to use this because this is showing you overall for your classroom all the different measures, the students that have been observed for that measure, and the students that have not been observed for that measure. A lot of teachers like to use this for lesson planning as well. Here, as an example, it looks like I haven't observed anyone for for COG 2 or COG 3. Same thing with, I guess, a few of the different COG measures. So maybe I want to plan a lesson based upon what I haven't observed yet for the students. The number in parentheses indicates the number of notes that student has for that measure. So here for Alt-Reg 1, all the students have been observed at least once for Alt-Reg 1. David has 2 notes, while Move On, Kathy, and Brian both have or all have 1 note. And again, we do have that Generate PDF up at the top here if you wanted a hard copy of this page. Again, I found this report under where it says class status, and I chose Progress Assessment Report. There is one more thing I do want to go through. I want to highlight Dashboard, which is up at the top left-hand corner here. Dashboard is a really good way to get an overview look as to what's going on inside your classroom. So here I can see for my classroom, I have 32 notes. I have 1.3 average notes per measure, and I can see a very colorful pie chart progress for my classroom itself. So as a classroom, I am 45% done observing my measures, but I'm only 7.5% done rating my measures. When I filter by my specific classroom, I can then see the exact students' names on here, the average notes per measure, and a percentage for each child in the classroom on here for observing the progress, the rating progress. It also tells me the due date for my students as well on here. So when are their DRDPs due, and it tells me the number of days that child has left to collect and rate the different DRDP observation notes. At this time, I will open it up if there are any questions or anything you'd like me to go through again.